Now, who wants to learn about the Brrr strategy? Anybody in here? Can I get a show of hands? Anybody? No? Nobody? All right. So the Brrr strategy is what is near and dear to my heart. It's not exactly how we started investing, but it is how we scaled our portfolio, grew it to about a little over $4 million worth of real estate, and how we're able to capitalize on a whole lot of equity without really putting a whole lot of cash out of our pocket into these deals, okay? So, and I didn't mean to do fancy pants slides, so I'm probably gonna mess up if I have to keep clicking. But just some notes on real estate, okay? Keep this in mind. You cannot become a master investor by coming here once or twice or really 3 times. No. You need to be studying, learning, getting to know other people in the business, taking people to lunch and asking questions, reading books. There's a lot to it becoming a master, but you can get started. You can get going. You can start educating yourself. You can start meeting people around you by coming to this one event. So I want to leave that with you. So I'm going to try to give you as much as I can in this amount of time. Again, I'm not going to take all day. I do want to leave it open for Q&A at the end. So, but if you have questions throughout, you can throw your hand up and I'll answer questions as we go. Unless we start running out of time, then I'll speed up. All right, so I do have to put rules because I'm not an attorney or a tax professional. Okay, this is all my experience, all right? And I just put that as a disclaimer because this is on video. Let me make sure it's on video. Got it. Now I'm covered. All right, so again, I didn't mean to do that. Investors in Colombia. Who understands what a cash flow market is? Who can tell me? Do what? Rental market. Yeah.
Makes money every month.
That's right. That's right. Cash flow market is you're looking for monthly, and it's a good rental market. It's people are investing here for money in the bank, for like operating money, for money to be coming every month. Okay, that's opposed to appreciation. What's an appreciation market? Anybody got an idea? Like give me an example. Miami. Yeah. What else? Denver, huge. San Francisco, yeah. Anywhere in California, pretty much, for now. Those are markets that you can buy it today and expect in a reasonable amount of time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, to have an exponential price gain so that you can then sell and make a profit, right? Colombia is not that. Is anybody, I mean, if you've been buying property for 5 years, 10 years, it's still the same price as when you bought it, okay, right? Except for little pockets, you might get a good hit in the student rental market, right? We're getting a little bump in there because rents are going up so high. I can't think of any other area that's seen, what's that? Downtown is getting a resurgence, yep, so you can see some appreciation. Yeah, but 4 Acres has always been the same. It's always been up there. King Street, 808 King Street. Yeah, 808 King Street's getting some appreciation.
All those pockets.
KC, the avenues is yeah. People are starting to realize that. That's a good spot. Rosewood's kind of been flat. I mean, it's got a little bit of a peak, but all in all, it hadn't been too much. It's probably a little high. Everywhere's a little bit up right now because the market is up. But I'm thinking like appreciation trajectory a little bit higher than just the standard. So there are a few pockets, but in general, you think about Colombia as a whole, you can get properties and you can cash flow. You can get money in your bank every month from those properties, okay? That's why the return on investment numbers work really well in Colombia. What you invest compared to what you get in return is pretty good, okay? So, however, Colombia, this is what happens when you got a nice little baby market like Colombia. We start to get noticed. Who's here has seen how many hedge funds that are buying properties now? I can name 3. How many? Do you know how many are in there buying? Is it 3, 4?
30.
3? Yeah. That puts pressure on our prices. because if a hedge fund can come buy, what does that do? Supply goes down, demand is still flat, but there's less of it, so it makes it go up. So that has an impact, right? We're not at a tipping point yet. There are places in this country, Birmingham, for example, was huge for cash flow, but then it got noticed. People started buying, and now their numbers are not as good. They're still good, but they're not as good. So here's an example. This is the one, Ted, I was going to tell you. So here's an example of the Brrr strategy. And I'll tell you why we use the Brrr strategy in just a second, but I do just kind of want to tell you a little bit about what that means when I talk about return on investment, okay? So this property was purchased for $32,000, rehab about $10,000. I think that was after the air conditioning we had to replace that Ted stole. I made him choke. And the rents are $895. We ended up financing for $65,000. So that's the Brrr part of the strategy. But the return on investment, guys, was 21.5%. And that essentially means return on investment. If you were to put $100 in your savings account today, you might get 0.001% return on investment, right? This is 20% return on investment, okay? So whatever I put in, we're getting 20% back. That's because of the high rent to cost value. Does that make sense? That's what makes Columbia a cash flow market. Higher rents in the lower cost to acquire the properties. Okay, that relationship. This property is not going to be worth $150,000, $200,000. It is not going to appreciate. For us to finance it at $65,000, I think it had to be worth $85 or something like that. If I do the math, I think it was around $85, and it will probably be worth $85,000 for the next 10 years. So it's probably not going to appreciate, and I don't care because I'm getting cash flow. I just want to make that part clear. The fun part, and I'll talk about this at the very end, is the cash on cash return. How much cash do I have in this property?
0 out of 42. Actually, you have less than 0.
I have 0. I have negative, right? Because we refinanced out extra. So our cash on cash return, how much cash we got in is 0, but we're getting a return, so it's infinity. So if that's your metric, that's a really fun metric. So rental versus retail. And this is just to get you guys, we're talking Brrr strategy now, okay? Just remember we're talking Brrr. We want to buy the right property, okay? So we need to understand what's the difference between retail and rental markets. Some are interchangeable. Rosewood is interchangeable. People will buy there and rent there. Ascot, everybody know Ascot out in Irmo. That's not interchangeable. Not a good idea to have a rental property in Ascot. King Street was a duplex that we had. That would be a rental opportunity, but we turned it to a single family. Rents would never make sense for a single family, okay? So understand what's the difference. And I think, I did put Ascot in there. So Colonial Heights, if you guys don't know Colonial Heights, it's not where home ownership happens, right? The houses are worth less than $70,000, $60,000, and it's just a rental market. So understand where you're shopping. You don't want to try to Brrr a house in Ascot that's going to cost you $500,000, $600,000. You're never going to get enough cash flow to pay for that. The bank is not going to lend you as a rental in that area. You'll never get your money back because the bank wants to see cash flow and you ain't going to get it. But you can make money in any area. You don't have to Brrr everything, but Brrr is a strategy that will help you make money in these rental markets or in these fringe, this Rosewood, these places that can go both ways. So understand what strategies work best in each area and then run with it. So these are totally subjective, but I just want to frame your mind of what I'm talking about right now, okay? What I'm talking about is the B and C area, okay? These are areas that will appraise. The reason we look in this area is you want to make sure that the property you want to go refinance is worth something. The bank has to think it's worth something so you can get your money out. So anything valued at 125 plus is considered an A area. That's not completely accurate for every type of investing, but for this Brrr strategy, that's kind of how we look at it. And the reason is if it costs 125 plus, the amount that the bank is going to want to lend is going to be 75% of that, but your rent has to give you cash flow. So it's going to be hard to get the rents high enough to cash flow with the bank. Okay, so I'm trying to make this easy and simple. There are exceptions to the rule, but we only have like 30 minutes in here and we're not going to go through all that. Okay, so let's talk B and C areas. That's what I want you to think about. That's where we want our minds focused. So that's where we are today. And here's some ideas just to get you thinking. Things that you want to avoid or get at a discount, right? 2 bedrooms, I put that in there. If it's a family rental area, it's hard to do the 2 bedrooms, but if it's a student rental area, 2 bedrooms are awesome because you can get them, sometimes you get them pay higher rents. Steep driveways, again, it's just one of those things that's, when people are renting, they've got options. So I just kind of like to avoid things that are obstacles, including the big holes in the backyard. Did you see that? Y'all saw our live video the other day. Our kids were digging in the backyard because the dog was digging in the backyard, and I was like, why are they digging so feverishly over there? And I go over, and there's literally a hole this big, and it went down 4 or 5 feet. Like I stuck a shovel, and the shovel disappeared. I was like, what is in the backyard? Turned out to be, I think, a septic tank. So that was fun. Thankfully, our kids didn't jump in it like we had suggested. So anyway, these are things to kind of avoid. I always avoid pools for rental property. Lots of reasons why, just don't do it. Okay? Yep.
Sorry, on your last slide, what do you mean by war zones?
So war zones would be,
Yeah, well,
which it's funny, I use the term, but there's really no war zone if you do the investment right. Does that make sense? And really in Columbia, maybe it's just Columbia, there probably are places that are war zones, but even in Columbia, the worst areas, if you get the right price, you can put a good tenant in there. And it doesn't matter what's going on around you. What happens in war zones, what is the idea is basically you can't get value in that property because the whole neighborhood is gone. It's just the people won't move in. You can't get a tenant because they don't want to live in the neighborhood. High crime is kind of an indicator, but it's more than that. It's like gang activity or something where nobody wants to live in this house because all these other houses are so bad and dangerous. Honestly, we have a house right off of Schoolhouse Road. Anybody knows where that is? I told my buddy he's in charge of City of Columbia Police. Like he's in charge of a couple of the regions, and we were at dinner. He's like, what are you doing on Schoolhouse Road? I was like, dude, it's a good deal, and we're gonna get a good tenant because our house is right next to a church. I mean, there's some good things about it, right? But if I said Schoolhouse Road to a cop like I did, he's like, that's a war zone, right? So I say it, but it's more about your comfort level where you want to be. Funny story, when I was driving through down Schoolhouse Road, it was a Friday afternoon, bright sunny day. I had my We Buy Houses shirt on, thankfully. And it was like 3 o'clock, right? And I pull up to a stop sign, I'm about to cross 2 Notch, and I wasn't paying attention. I was looking at my map, and I go to left to brake, and I start going. And I just happened to look in my rearview mirror, and there was a deputy sheriff with 3 deputy sheriffs flanking my vehicle with her hand on her waist. And she's like, stop the vehicle, stop. I was like, oh crap. And that's what I'm like, maybe I am in the wrong neighborhood. But I was like, I'm looking at houses. It was like, through my shirt. I'm buying houses. So she's like,
you're eating sunflower seeds.
I was eating sunflower seeds, and I know she thought I had drugs in that bag. It was out of a Ziploc bag, right? Like, this is not going to go well. And thankfully, I didn't bring my pistol that day either, so I was cool with that. But she was like, "What are you doing?" It's like, I'm just looking at houses. She said, "I blew through the stop sign." I was like, "What is a stop sign?" There's no stop sign right there. But I saw her in my rearview mirror when she went back. So they had all 3 unmarked Tahoes. And she went back and talked to the other cops back there, and you could see the dejectment on their face. They're like, "Oh man, we got out of our car for nothing. This guy's not doing anything." So they let me go. They're like, "We don't want you. Go away." I swear I didn't buy any drugs. So back to real work here. Return on equity. This is what makes the Brrr process. This is why we do it. When you buy a house and it's worth 100, you only have 50 in it. You have $50,000 in equity, right? If you just leave that in the property, then you're getting some return on equity. That's your cash flow. But what if you take it all out? Then you can get more return on equity. That's the deal with Brrr. If you bought for appreciation, but your investment is not appreciated, then you have equity, but how much? So pull that equity out, that's a 0 return. Okay, that's what I just said. So you just basically, you take your equity out of a house and you use it somewhere else and invest it somewhere else. That's the basic of the Brrr strategy. So this is a little bit of math, guys, and I'll run through it real fast. You have a house free and clear. It's been worth $200,000 for 5 years. That is something that would happen in Columbia. It wouldn't appreciate. It'd be 200, 200, still 200, right? Right now we're in an upturn in the market, so you might see a little appreciation, but we'll level back out. If you were to cash out refi, get 75% of your appraised value. This is what we do. So you get $150,000 at 5% interest. Your payment's $800 a month. Then this is what you do with it. You buy 2 investment properties at $75,000 each. Each of them will rent for $1,000. Is that doable in Columbia? Can we get those numbers? Can we get better than those numbers? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Expenses, including debt service, are $1,200, leaving you with $800 monthly cash flow. That's after paying the note, right? So now you have cash flow on that equity. You borrowed equity from a house you still own. You're making cash flow from these other 2 that you bought. That is the premise of the Brrr, and then that cash flow turns into $9,600 a year. All right, so there's a lot of math. Really, so that was 6.4%, right? Y'all want to take a picture? Go ahead. I'm not going to do all this. This is just my slides from before. Or you can use the Brrr strategy and get all your money back. So that's the whole point. I just want to make it complicated so then I can say Brrr's better. Everybody say it. Brrr's better.
Brrr's better.
Oh, you guys are going to sleep on me. All right. So here's the Brrr strategy in detail. All right. What's the first thing we got to do? Discount. That was easy enough. Then you want to rehab with intent, and we'll talk about that. Rent to qualified tenants. Is that important?
Yes.
Oh gosh, yes. Refinance for the win. Exactly. So that's the finish line, right? The refinance, and then we could add another R on it, and repeat. Yeah. So I debated on that, but I had just 3 R's so many times in the PowerPoint. I was like, I'm not going back. I'm just not going back. So you can repeat. All right, so here's an example. Here's a real life example. This one came from MLS. There are deals on MLS. You can find them. This was a sweet deal. And we won't find this every day, but this we bought for $135,000. It was a 5-unit property. We rehabbed it for $25,000. It was really just undermanaged. It just needed cleaning up and getting old tenants out. So we did it. And then we ended up renting it for $3,000. Actually, those numbers went up. They went up to $3,500 by the time we sold it. And but at the time, we refinanced this so we bought it in January 4th, and we had refinanced it by April. So we refinanced within 4 months. So we had all of our money back within 4 months. Do you think we went and did it again somewhere else? Oh yeah, we sure did. So we recycled that money, we did the repeat process, okay? Again, return on investment was infinity. And what we later did was sold that property for 34, something like that. So, incredible deal. And but those are the things that you could do when you are burring, because it's easier to recycle your money and get into the next deal. We got the money for that from a flip, actually. All right, so here it is. You get a free house. But the only thing you have to do is be all in for 75% of appraised value. Whose appraisal? Not yours. The bank's, right? That's a very important fact. You need to be thinking that from the beginning. Doesn't matter what you think it's worth, your grandma, your brother, your sister, your uncle, or all of us. It's got to be in the bank. Bank appraiser, and I say that because you can get in trouble with mobile homes, manufactured homes. Sometimes they really are worth more, but appraisers have issues with comps. So just think about that. If you got a unique property, maybe just shy a little bit lower on your estimates. All right?
Question.
Yeah.
Are they doing full appraisals or BPO?
Full appraisal.
A lot of lenders kind of lean to BPO.
If you've had it for a while, then sure. We're doing quick turns, so they want to know for sure. If you hold for 2 years and you're just refinancing a property I've had for 2 years, they're more likely to do BPO. And if you're only trying to get 60%, they're more likely to do that. We try to get the most and the quickest, and so they'll do a full appraisal.
Is there a minimum hold period of like 90 days or 120 days?
So it's lender by lender. If you're doing it in an LLC, you get more flexibility where you can do it faster because it's like a company expense and they see it differently. However, your rates are higher. If you do it in your own name, they're most likely going to say 6 months, or some of them even say a year. And so I do have some questions in here for what to ask the bank. Those are some of the questions to ask the bank. And you can ask, guys, don't be afraid to go to 6 banks. They might want to be your friend, they might act like your friend, but at the end of the day, it's a business and it's a transaction that you need to make work for you. So get 6 of them to quote it. Who cares, right? I mean, they don't spend any money on that. They're just going to give you a quote and tell you the rules. Okay? Go ahead.
So when you get properties that are worth like 75,000 or less, do you think it's harder to get financing if it's free and clear with the tenant?
I don't think it's harder unless you get to like the 25 to 50. Like some banks would say they won't touch anything less than 25, or they won't touch anything less than 50. I've never heard of a bank say they won't touch 75.
Some of those fast lenders are kind of like that. They want a minimum loan size of 50.
Minimum
So that's
loan
where the
size.
75 could kind of come from.
Yeah, I
But
guess if you're
it's
ARB
usually not a
75.
normal bank. It's usually your fast lenders, these like Lima ones and Finance Americas and things like that.
Yeah, maybe if you're doing that. If you're doing a traditional bank, I think they're fine with that. 75 ARV. The fast lenders, the online lenders, the reason that they have a minimum loan size is because their fees are loan size based. So if they're charging you 2%, 2 points, and it's only $30,000 loan, that's not enough fees to cover their expenses. So that would be the reason. But yeah, again, ask them. Ask them.
I've had problems financing, when I had my LLC, financing with a bank, let's say a normal bank, because they wanted it in my personal name to be able to finance it.
Yeah.
Are you running into that any?
So you will run into that, but then go to another bank. Or you tell them, I'll sign a personal guarantee, but I'm not deeding this property over into my name. All they really, if you got down to brass tacks and you said, ask your underwriter, the underwriter just wants you to be liable for it. They want you to be on the hook. So most of them will say, okay, but now if it's like a Wells Fargo, what are the other big banks now? BB&T, Bank of America. If they're going to try to sell it to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, then yeah, that's the problem because Fannie Mae won't buy LLC loans. So you need to find a bank that will, they hold their portfolio inside. So
And
they
which-
may,
what banks around here are like that?
I'll tell you what, we should I'll do a list, but there's a bunch. Any community bank, local community bank. If you go to their website and it says Southeast, they'll probably do it. If they just say Columbia, oh yeah, oh yeah, they'll do it. Credit unions, yeah. Credit unions are a little funny sometimes because they have to answer to a board of members and they could change their mind in a heartbeat. So again, ask. All right, so the first thing we have to do is buy the property. Do we all agree on that? Yeah, and we got to buy it right. Everybody's heard that you make your money when you buy it, right? That's not the whole truth, but you do need to buy it right with the end in mind. You need to know where you're going with this. Know your numbers. There's a lot of numbers to think about, but the main things are what's it going to be worth when you're done? What's 75% of that going to be? Because that's what the bank will lend you. And then what's your expenses for rehab? And then what will you rent it for? That's the other one. And does anybody know where to find discount property?
Wholesale everywhere.
Everywhere, right? Everywhere. Right here in this room, right? Freddy's, you got a couple discount properties?
Oh, yeah.
Who said, you got one or two right back there, right? Who else had one? I can't remember. Yeah, Nigel has one. We've got one. There's discount properties everywhere. They're online. They're the HUD Home Store. If you don't know that one, HUDHomestore.com, I think is it. You can call a realtor, say, hey, what REOs are out there? There are discount properties everywhere. You don't want to go shopping retail, okay? Some people say go look for the for sale by owners. We kind of shy away from that because for sale by owners like to drive. That's why they're doing it. They want to be in the driver's seat, and sometimes it just gets to be a headache. So if you got time, you can deal with that. So be a discount shopper, I said that. So there's all your resources. I put it up there. Facebook. Go on Facebook and tell people what you're looking for. Say it enough times, somebody will bring it to you. I guarantee you, you guys, if somebody in this room went on Facebook and did it every day, said, I'm looking for XYZ, you're specific enough, you'll find one before this time next month. Facebook is amazing, and it's free. Oh yeah, so here's a tip. This is a secret that I don't think I've ever told anybody. You get the first. I'm going to have to pause the camera. Nobody else can know this. No videos. No, I'm just kidding. Busy intersections are amazing for Brrr. And I'll tell you the reason. This is why it's helped for us. It's worked for us. You can buy them right off the MLS because nobody else wants to put, nobody wants to buy it and live in it, right? Busy intersections they don't like to live in. But you don't care about that. You just want a high rent area. And renters don't really care about busy intersections because they want to be convenient. And does the appraiser care how busy the intersection is?
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit. All he cares about is comps. 1, 2, 3. Now, he may give a little discount if it's on a busy street, and that's good too. I'd say busy streets, you just take a little bit off because they will give a discount to a busy street like a 4-lane highway. But if your comps are good, go with it. So busy intersections are phenomenal because those sellers are having trouble selling because nobody wants to live at the stop sign that has the bus stop on it. Just think about it. It works great. All right, you can turn the video back on. Come back. All right, so wholesalers. This is a wholesale deal. Ted, was this you too? Yeah, this is what I was going to change because they want Ted's deals all up here the whole time. But, so we've done this a few times, obviously. But this is a wholesale deal. We bought this from a wholesaler, and purchase price was $76,000, $20,000 in rehab. We got, and this is the reason I left this on here, we got $96,000 at closing from a private money lender. So we borrowed money to buy it and to rehab it. It appraised, this one took about 6 or 8 months because we got to get a tenant out. It later appraised for $135,000. We rehabbed for $100,000, got all of our money back. Again, cash on cash returns infinity because we literally had no money in it. We didn't put any money in it, and we're just cash flowing for rent right now. All right, that was buying properties. Does anybody have a question on that? You can ask later, but I'm getting into the rehab process now. Take a picture of that, write that down. Your contractor, if you've got a good GC, a good general contractor, should know the order of events. But even they get out of order because they're in a hurry, they want to get paid, they want to draw, they want, or they're AC guys, like I can come now, but I can't come later. You want to stay on task and order because it really screws a lot of things up. And we have an example of a house on Edisto that we're still working on because we let a new contractor in and they sucked. So they're way out of order. I mean, the hardwood floors were sanded and stained before we had bathroom finished, kitchen finished, lights weren't up. I mean, we showed up at the house, we're like, what? Why is there stain on the floor? We were not happy. So, I mean, well, all that does is stop everything. So when you do this, the order correctly, it keeps it moving along. When you go out of order, it screws you up. And you know you always start with demo, right? Don't, and here's another little thing we've learned. If you think you're going to demo it, just demo it. If you're like, well, maybe we can save it, just demo it. Get it out of the way, because if you start demoing halfway through, it again ruins you. So just demo it. Foundation, drainage, roof, all those things come first. Guys, take a picture of that. It will save you when you get going down the road. Oh, there's one more. All right, y'all want to take a picture of that? I was hiding one. Sneaky.
Get out the way.
My bad. Sorry. Can you tell I'm a professional at this? You good? All right. So rehab costs. So this is kind of the process. Again, I'm not going deep down into the process. We can talk if you guys have particular questions. But rehab costs, you absolutely want to have a budget, and you need a budget, and you want to be with your contractor in creating that budget. And when you're first starting out, you want to be as detailed as possible with that budget and have quotes from as many people as possible for that budget, because it is still going to be a moving target. Even when you have everything in line, even when you have all those quotes, it's still a moving target. Yes, you will overpay. Go ahead and accept it. You're going to overpay. Just be ready for it, especially in the beginning, because you're not going to know what to look for. You're going to have a lot of things get thrown at you. Just be ready for it. Again, this is a reason to do a smaller rehab in the beginning. But just be, if you don't have contacts with people that give you their quotes, just go down to the Lowe's. If you tell the Lowe's guy, go to the Pro Desk at Lowe's or Home Depot. Our friend Dwayne would love to help you at Lowe's. Go to the Pro Desk, hand them a list of things that you need, give it to him, and he'll give you a whole price in probably a couple hours. He'll give you a whole thing, he can email it to you, and then if you want to buy it, you just email them back and then say, buy these things, have them delivered or have them held on these dates. So Lowe's and Home Depot are big helpers when you're doing a project. So use them to your advantage. All right, so we just kind of talked about the estimates. You want to get in there, pre-offer estimates, that's just kind of guessing. You want to get a ballpark, but then you really want to get an inspection estimate. So before you actually close on a deal, especially in your first few, you want to have quotes before you go and close it, because you want to start with a good deal. Detailed, I think I just talked through that. Through experience, you build a list of costs. That, again, keep an Excel spreadsheet. It's the easiest thing to do. If you guys want examples of Excel spreadsheet, I actually have one that has like Home Depot ceiling fan, light fixture, sink, faucet, you name it. All those things are broken down with model numbers and prices. We can send that. We'll put it in the Facebook group, and then you just take it and you delete everything I have because it's old. It's like 2 years old. Delete it all and start doing. Whenever you buy a sink, put it in there. If it's the sink you like, just put it in there because you can use it next time, right? Start building your list. You won't have it right away, but start building. All right, so here is a simple trick. You guys might want to take a picture of this. This is really good. It's really helpful when you are in a hurry to buy. If there's multiple offers, if you're getting good at this and you kind of get an idea of what these costs are, this is what we go by. This is a typical 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,400 square foot house. Roof, HVAC. I think I'd probably bump the paint and flooring up a little bit. I count that as $10 a square foot. Right now, I think windows, you might have to go up on that now. This is a little bit dated, but kitchen, again, this is a rental property, guys. So this is a kitchen redo where you're keeping the cabinets. $3,000 for a rental. If you're going to redo your cabinets, you're looking at about $100, $150 a linear foot on cabinets. Okay. So this is just rough numbers. I would use this before you go get your quotes from your contractors, right? If these numbers are kind of shaking out, you think you got a deal, then you might want to put an offer in and then get into your due diligence. All right, just some good tips, guys, for reducing costs. We like to buy stuff on sale. If you're just doing one Brrr at a time, don't try to go buy a storage unit and collect stuff. You'll just waste money on the storage unit. But if you see good deals, be prepared to buy them. You know you're going to need them. Order online. We like Southeastern Salvage and Builders Warehouse, whatever that is, off Garner's Ferry. They have some good stuff in stock. Order Amazon. If you're going to do like doorknobs and hinges and stuff like that, you can do Amazon. They're really good. The point is the death by 1,000 cuts. Every time you overpay by a little thing, every $20, $50, $100, $200, $1,000, every time you overpay for something, takes your money out and you can't get it back. Okay?
Yeah, another suggestion too on saving. You can go on Facebook Marketplace and you can find a bunch of cheap stuff on there. I actually bought some stuff on there today. It was, I think, 35 or 40 AC registers for like $70.
Wow. Yeah.
So.
And I know somebody that'll fix up a refrigerator and sell it to you for cheap. There's people in here that'll do that. So, yeah, that'd be Facebook. It's a great place. Remember, you're fixing up a rental property, okay? Yes, you want nice stuff in there because you want higher rent, but it doesn't have to be top of the line. We always do stainless steel, but we usually get the GE base model that's on sale at Lowe's for President's Day, right? It's 40% off. So.
Go to Second Spin Appliance.
I know, yes, and they're really good.
The only factory warranty place in town with scratch it.
Yeah, they're really good. It's across from Ace Glass.
Just save about $100.
Yeah, Monday, 2 nights. Yeah. Chrome fixtures are, well, actually, they're coming back in style. So I don't know if I need to change this, but chrome fixtures were out of style, so they were cheaper. They were like significantly cheaper, but in a rental house, it didn't really matter for the faucet. So those are things that will save you all the way through. All right, so rehab project. This is the management, guys. This is the most important part of the rehab, I think, is the don't rush your first deal. You want to learn, you want to document, you want to make sure what you're doing is repeatable. Make sure the people you're working with are people you want to continue to work with. And don't feel like you're in a hurry so much so that you make bad decisions or you make forced decisions, okay? Contractors are tough. I think I put in here that they are lots of times working for the next check, working for that there might be overdrawn, they got to pay somebody. So they want to get paid quickly, so sometimes they might move a little too fast and miss stuff or mess stuff up. So you don't want to be at their pace, okay? You want to be at your pace. Now, you should have the money available for them if they've done the job correctly, but don't get rushed into paying for something that's not to your liking, okay? The Brrr process, yes, it's great when we get done in 4 months, but guys, the Brrr process could take you 6 months, 8 months, a year, right? It's not about speed. This is a long-term game. This is a long race. We're building wealth, and you might have to put in some time to do it, okay? A written agreement, I think I put a copy in here. I'll upload that as well. A contractor's agreement. Written agreement shows details how you're going to pay them, when you're going to pay them, and what they need to do to get paid. We have that. So you guys, it's a good idea to go with one, especially if you're working with somebody you don't really know. Like you get a reliable referral, that's good, but a contract always is best. Oh, there it is right there. So that's it. I'm sure you all can read that. But that's just the basic contract. It just details how you're going to pay them, when you're going to pay them, and for what they have to do. All right, so that's rehab.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Comment. So there's a place in Sally, South Carolina that sells a lot of stuff that comes back from Lowe's, like really, really discounted stuff. I think they're open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, something like that. Was there a place here in Columbia that also had discount new stuff? I missed it.
Just appliances. But it's on
Yeah, this is
Second
mostly
Spin.
appliances.
Yeah, Second Spin at Two Notch in Fontaine.
They say they get it from Lowe's and Home Depot.
Yeah, that's where they.
Second spin?
Mhm.
Okay.
Just appliances. They're the only one that does just those returns and factory warranty things. There's another one on Bull Street, but they're not. Some of theirs are good, some of them are not. So Rosewood Appliances, I think, is closed. I don't know. You guys might know that, but. Any other questions on rehab? I know that, like I said, there's a lot to the rehab process. I really, if you stick to that timeline and understand that you're in charge of your contractors, it's okay to tell them, no, you're not my guy. It's okay to fire them if you have to. You're looking for a long-term success in building wealth and get this rental rehab done. Don't get rushed, all right? Next thing is to rent it out. This is the easy part, right, guys? Who here manages their own rentals? Oh, good, we got a few. Who wants to stop managing their own rentals? Everyone. Everyone. Yes. Do we manage our own rentals? No, we do not. I do have a few commercial ones, but in general, no. So use a property manager or get good at everything else. Okay, so we do have some resources for this. We do have the lease, background check form. Who's familiar with Bigger Pockets? Good. If you're not, check them out, biggerpockets.com. I can't remember the name, but there's probably a few of them. But there's a resource where you could do the tenant screening. It might be called tenantscreening.com. Maybe you guys might know. But anyway, you can go online and screen your tenants. Couple bucks each time. Do it. Just do it. But here's just some of the following things that you want to be, just some tips and tricks. So we always would get an application. We would make them give us a fee, $25, $20, whatever it is. That will pay. That pays for the screening, but it also shows that they're serious. They're just not filling out applications all over the place, right? And they've got a couple of dollars that they can hand you, so that's a good thing. Host open house showings. Has anybody done this before? Have you done it? Successful? Not? Yes? Maybe? Nobody showed. Did you get it rented eventually?
I'm working on it right now.
Yeah. So maybe it doesn't work. But the idea is if you do a open house showing for tenants, you get, maybe it's 1, 2, or 3, but the idea is you'll get them there and you're doing it on your own time. Managing properties can take a lot of time of your life up if you let it. You need to set the expectation with the tenants that they will work on your time. Yes, you're going to answer the phone for emergencies, but when it comes to everyday life, you're not at their beck and call. So no, you're not going to drop everything and drive across town to show them the property. You will show it to them on Saturday at 1 p.m. along with the other 3 people that talked to you this week, right? If nobody showed up, guess what? Those were not the right tenants, right? Had you been eager to drop everything and go meet that first tenant that called you and you signed them a lease, I'd be willing to bet that if that person was the same person that didn't show up on a Saturday for an open house, they probably aren't going to stay very long. They're probably not going to pay rent. So it's another way to filter out tenants that may not be your best tenant. If they can't commit to show up when you ask them to show up, if they can't commit to a certain time, of course, people have to work, but if they can't commit to be there, they probably are not your best tenant. Background check, I said that. Eviction check, of course. Has anyone had to do with bed bugs yet? Yeah? Okay, I used to manage a hotel, guys, so they're here. They're everywhere. They're in this hotel, I'm sure. So, how much did it cost you to get rid of them, or did you pay for it? How much? Couple thousand bucks, right?
1,200.
1,200.
We just got rid of it ourselves.
You just burn the house down? Okay. That's what I would do. Just light a match. They're gone. So it's expensive. We started putting a bed bug addendum in our contract. And you know who told us that? Rollins Pest Control. You know why? Because he's also a landlord and it costs $2,000 to get rid of bed bugs. Right? So put that in there and say, look, there are no bed bugs before you get in, tenant. If you get bed bugs in the next month, 2 months, it's your fault. You brought it.
With carpet.
It's worse in again, I manage hotels. We can go for days on bed bugs. Carpet allows them to hide. They like to hide in warm, cozy areas in the dark. Yes, it's worse with carpet because it's so much area, but they can get into the outlet covers. They can get under the hardwoods.
Trim.
Do what?
Trim.
And the trim, they'll get in the baseboards. If you have carpet, it's nice because you can get rid of the carpet and usually they'll be in it. If you don't have carpet, they go and hide. So then it's harder to get rid of them. So it's kind of a, but once they get in, if they come in with your tenant, they're going to be in there. They likely, it's not that they're dirty, guys. I don't want to say you got dirty tenants. It's not that they're dirty, it's that they were somewhere that had bed bugs and they got on their pants leg, they got on their luggage, they got in their mattress, and they just brought them with them. It's not, they don't carry disease, it's not that bad, but they're expensive to get rid of because they're hard to contain. And no, your next tenant certainly doesn't want to move in if you have bed bugs, right? Do you guys, anybody? No, I didn't think so. So that's one of the things that we started putting in was an addendum for that.
So what do? Get certified from an exterminator that you don't have them?
Well, you basically go through and you show the tenant, hey, look, there's no bed bugs in here. There's no bed bugs.
Show them that?
Well, you just show them. Look, do you see bed bugs? No. So
But they don't know for sure.
they don't know for sure. So of course you kind of have to have a month. So we have a month that says if they show up in this first month, we will have it inspected by a licensed professional. And if they say that they were here before, because they leave a trail, they can be found. If they were here before, then we'll pay for it. But if they're all over your stuff, you're paying for it. So we do have, it's a 30-day window that if the bed bugs show up, then we will come in, we will investigate it. If they show up after 30 days, that's all you. Your lease with proper language, this is big, and the reason I put it in there is the whole pay your rent by X date, or this counts as your 5-day warning. I don't know if it's different, probably different in Augusta. But basically, you want to be able to evict the person as soon as they don't pay rent. Okay? You want to have that proper language in your lease. I can't remember exactly what it says, but I think it says this is your warning, right? Who has a lease? Something to that effect. Basically, it says if you don't pay your rent, this is your warning. We're starting the eviction on day 6, on 6th of the month. So those are the things you want to have in there. Also require them to get insurance. Renter's insurance, because your insurance is only going to cover the building and liability, but you're not going to cover their stuff. So we always tell people, get your own insurance, and we would have them sign something that says, we told you, if you don't get insurance, it's on you, right? Another thing that we're finding out now is if they have renter's insurance and they invite somebody over, say they have not party, but they had a Super Bowl party, and somebody slips on the stairs and breaks their ankle. If they had renter's insurance, the first person to get sued would be the renter's insurance. So that would be, their insurance would pay out, and then it would come into your insurance liability. So most likely their insurance would cover everything and you would not be as inconvenienced. Okay, so highly encourage renter's insurance. We put it in the language of the lease.
You don't have it enforced, though.
Do what?
Renters, making them get renter's insurance.
I don't know that you
Found
can
that hard.
actually, I don't know that you can actually make them prove it. I don't think you could legally
Just said-
require it. We just,
If they signed it.
I mean, I'm sure you could, but I don't know how you would, you just say, hey, do you have it, and show
You
it to me?
make them an additional insured, just like you would on a home policy.
Yeah, you can do that.
And then if the policy lapses.
If it lapses, then you would know.
They're gonna call you.
Yeah, there you go. That's it right there.
Then what? You gonna evict them if they don't have it?
You could.
It's a lease violation.
Yeah, it's a lease violation, yeah.
That's expensive, too.
Well, I don't know that I would, yeah, exactly. If it's a good tenant, I don't know. I mean, that's a call you would have to think about. But you want to be aware of it. And it might be, that might be the one lease violation that you needed to get them out.
Yeah.
Because you want them out. So,
Is anybody in here that knows, can you charge more rent to buy insurance for them on their behalf?
we don't have a lawyer in here, do we?
Or
I've seen the
insurance.
topic on Facebook a couple of times on Bigger Pocket, and it's very controversial.
I would, the one thing I would say after talking to lots of lawyers and kind of being around them is I would never charge one person different than the next, any circumstance, because that could come into a discrimination. So for whatever, like if this is the rent that I published, this is the rent you're going to pay. I would say that. That's all I would say about that. Again, I'm not an attorney. We'll go back to the disclaimer. All right, so your bank will likely require a 1-year lease. Just make sure you do a 1-year lease, all right? Do the 1-year lease because you're going to the bank and the bank wants to see a professional portfolio. They want to see that this is rented out and that this cash is going to cover their mortgage. Does that make sense? What are the questions on renting it out? That's it. So what would anybody guess what I would recommend before I click away? There you go. Who said it? There you go. We use Canty Company and then South Carolina Real Estate, I don't know what it is. South Carolina Property Management, that's it. And then like I said, we do 1 or 2. So, property manager. All right, here's the fun part. Get your money back for the win, right? So the refinance this is the most important. There's a lot to do before you get here, right? There's a lot to do. I don't want to stand here and make it sound like it's easy. It's doable for everybody in this room. I did it I didn't have somebody to tell me about it. We just did it because we just step by step, take small steps, take your time, understand there is an end. But getting your money back, that's the most important part for scaling. And you have to be prepared for getting your money back at the beginning. So know your numbers. We talked about that. Know what your ARV, what's this thing going to be worth? What's 75% of that? That's what I'm working for. Okay? So if you want to scale using the Brrr process, you got to get your money back because you got to put it in the next one. You got to get a return on that. You got to move it. You want to make sure you're cash flowing, covering your mortgages, covering your expenses, but then you'll have money to do your next. Okay? So what to look for when you go to the bank? Long-term financing. You want to try to get it as long as possible if this is your long-term goal, right? If this is what you want to do, you want to get this property locked up for 10, 20, 30 years if you can. If you do it in a LLC, they're not going to do that right off the bat. They're going to lock you in for a balloon payment of 5, 7, 10 years. They'll give you a 20-year AM so that the payments aren't too bad, but you'll have a balloon payment, and that's okay because your tenants will be paying down your mortgage. You're only at 75% anyway, and the likelihood that you get refinanced, it's pretty good because this market is known for cash flow, not appreciation or depreciation. Our market's pretty stable. The local banks, so that's the question, is the local bank that maintains their own portfolio. So First Community is one, Carolina Collegiate is another, South State, I think they just got bought, South State, Grand South, that's another one, Coastal Carolina, Arthur State. Those are all banks that we've used that will do this. That's 6 you can call right now and say, hey, will you do this? What are your terms? Okay? Again, personal name gives you better terms. You can get it for 30 years, but you can only do like 10 of those, and then it's riskier because your name is on it. if you do get sued, it's not your LLC getting sued, it's you personally. Of course, you can have insurance for that, but it's just one of those things. It's nice to have an LLC.
My experience, you could buy it in your LLC. You can buy it in your personal name, get a loan,
Yeah.
transfer it to your LLC to get that liability off.
Yeah, yeah, of course. You can do that, and we won't get into the due on sale clause, but if you guys want to know about that, that's a real thing. But if you put it in your name and transfer it to the LLC, the bank has the right to say you have to pay it off. But that's a really low risk. I mean,
You're making your payments.
if you're making your payment, exactly, they're not coming after you. And if they did, it's probably something else really bad happened, and at that point, who cares, right? Give it back. So that can be done, exactly. All right. I should have spaced that out. Okay, so go ahead.
How many loans will they let you take up?
In the
If they
LLC,
look and say, okay, you got 8 loans, is there a limit, or you can have 30 of them, 40 of them?
there's no limit. When you put in an LLC, what they're looking at is a business, and and they're gonna ask you, what are these loans? Show me the rents for these loans, show me how much that payment is. But every time you do it, you should be cash flowing. You should have at least 25% equity in that property. So that essentially just builds your case that, hey, I'm doing a good thing here. I got 30 loans, they're all paid up, they're all on time, and here's my cash flow at the end of the month.
And
Give
if
me
you get it
31.
Personal, how many can you have?
Well, if they're selling it to Fannie Mae, you can only do 10 if it ends up in Fannie Mae, which would be your bigger banks. I don't know about personal names, I don't know it.
How do they qualify you to buy, refinance more based on your income, like DTI and all that?
So they're looking for a debt to income ratio, and that would vary between bank and time of year, what they got going on. But you want to have a debt to income. If you're at a 1.5, which means your income is, how do I explain this? 150% of your debt payments. Does that make sense, or did I just screw that up? Okay, somebody got it. So yeah, so if you got 150% income each month for debt, then you're good. You should be fine in most banks. Some will go down to 1.25, and some will go lower in a hot market. Some will bump it up if things get tight. Yeah, it just gets bigger and bigger. Yeah, because your debt to income should continue to, your income's going to go up, and your debt's going to go up. Your income should be climbing higher than your debt. That's the idea, because you're getting cash flow.
You'd hope.
You'd hope. One would hope.
Income on the LLC?
Yeah, they're going to want to see that. And of course, the bank, especially the local banks, they want to see your whole picture. I think I put that in there. Your whole financial profile. They're going to want to see the whole thing. The underwriter is going to nail down on that business, the LLC, because that's what's liable for the product or for the loan. But they want to see your whole picture because they want to see how creditworthy you really are. So they're going to look at your personal credit score. They're going to look at your personal assets, whether it's an IRA or a stock market. They want to see all that because they're going to build a big picture of you and then make their determination on that property based on the rents. And that LLC is just part of you. So when we turn it into a new bank, we'll have three LLCs that hold property. All 3 of those will be listed. Then we have LLCs that are bringing cash flow, like Columbia Cash Home Buyers and Lucas Properties. So all 5 of these LLCs will be in the picture. Then they're going to run our credit. They're going to look at all of our debt, student loan to credit cards, whatever. So they're going to look at the whole picture. If you've got bad credit, you want to have good cash flow. Okay, you may not get 75% loan to value. You might have to settle for 65 or 70 because they want to counteract that bad credit. But when you go in there, be a professional. All right, you don't have to wear a suit and tie, but dress nice. Right, go in there, act like you know what you're doing, even if you don't. Fake it till you make it. But be professional with the documents you bring in, guys. It makes a huge difference when you show up at a bank and you've got a detailed rent roll of your property and you've got pictures of what the before and what the after was. You've got a list of everything you did to rehab this property. And you could have invoices from what you paid to the contractor. All these things will show the bank that, hey, I bought this crappy house at 20 grand. I spent a really good 30 grand fixing it. Yet now it's worth 75 grand. Can I just have 50? Right? It shows them that they're lending on a real asset with real improvements, because the bank is looking at it and saying, why should I give you this much money when you only pay 20? Right? But you want to go in there and show them, because I did all this work to it. Now can I have my money back, please? Please? Pretty please? So those are the things you want to show them. Of course, your lease. Show them the lease term and rate. And you could bring them a copy of the lease. You could bring them a copy of that person's application. I wouldn't share their credit. I wouldn't show, don't share social security numbers and credit profile, that kind of stuff. But show that you did it the right way, that they filled out an application, that they passed. If you're doing this a couple months later, show them where they paid their rent on the 4th every month. You know, those type of things build credit worthiness with that banker. Okay, and that'll help you in the long run get to them and get quicker service and better deals for the banker. Does that make sense? This is your biggest sales pitch, mind you. You're going to, like I said, check a couple different banks, but when you settle in on that one bank, we want this to be a long-term plan. Brrr, that's the way we teach it, is Brrr for long-term wealth. You can't just do it with one. So that banker, when you meet them for the first time, you want to get to know that you want to know how they work, you want to know how they function, and you want to be their friend and them to be yours. Now, they're not going to do anything illegal for you, but if you guys are working well together, have a good relationship, it might make things go smoother for you in the future when you want to burr your 3rd, 4th, 5th, 20th property. Does that make sense? So start the first one with that in mind. Be intentional about it. Get in front of that banker as a professional, as another professional. All right, so here are the details. Does anybody want to know the numbers of how this works? No? Nobody? Yes? Okay. All right, I showed you this earlier, and this is big picture, return on investment, cash on cash return. Here's where it gets into the Brrr, and this is what makes Brrr fun for us, for starting out. If you don't have a whole lot of money, if you just have a little bit, or if you have access to just a little bit, you got a credit card, or a mom that's going to loan you a little bit of money, you can make Brrr strategy go a long way. Okay, and here's how it looks. This was the purchase. We were all in for 42. We refinanced for 65. So we had money come out. And again, when you go to the bank, generally the banks don't want to give you more money than what you put in. But this particular property appraised really high, and we did have some other debt that we could consolidate. So banks will give you the money if it is for a good cause. Like, they're not going to hand you a $20,000 check for no reason. But if you got a Lowe's credit card, or credit card debt, or a car you want to pay off, you can tell your banker, like, look, I only put 50 in this, but I can get 65 based on your numbers. I can pay off this other debt. Are you cool with that? Be honest with them. And they'll do it if they can. If they can't, they won't. So this one was able to do that. So now we rent it for $895. The mortgage is $430, expenses $180, insurance and taxes. So it comes down to cash flow of $137 a month. How much money did we have out of pocket?
Zero.
Negative 15, whatever that was. Zero money out of pocket. Cash on cash return is infinity. That is a free, quote, free house, right? Does everybody see how that works?
Andrew, quick question.
Yo.
Where you have your expenses at 180, is that accounting for your vacancies and then fixing up the property as well?
Yeah, so I put 20% is what we count for vacancy and repairs. It would be 25%, but we rehabbed this.
Right.
So we put, it had a new roof. It was a newer house, so we put a new HVAC. So I put 20% down there.
Sweet.
Yeah. And you know, we could have made cash flow better by taking less money out. If we'd only taken 50 grand out, our mortgage would be probably more like 330, so another $100 a month. So, yeah.
Is your property management net expenses as well?
Yeah. So 10%, well, 8% property management, and then I just put in another 12 for vacancy and repairs. Usually Columbia is a rental market. We only count 5% for vacancy across the board when we're running our numbers. Okay. So if you have a decent property, you shouldn't be vacant that much. What else?
Is this a single family, it looks like?
Yes.
So your taxes and insurance together are only $147 a month?
A month. Yep.
Is that because the purchase price was so low?
Yes.
And how do you handle that when that gets reassessed?
Don't get it reassessed. No. That was my new bill. So I honestly didn't look and see if it went up or went down. That is in 29203 zip code. It's a good street in that zip code. I can't tell you, I honestly don't know if it went up or went down. The beauty of the Brrr strategy is you still have a rental property. Even if you mess up, you may not get all your money back. You may get more money back. But this is a long-term game. It's for building wealth, and you still will have a rental property that hopefully cash flows.
Or if you're gonna mentor, hopefully you won't buy too high.
Yeah. Come in here and ask us before you buy too high. What else? Can you guys see how Columbia is a cash flow market? Do you guys think that Brrr strategy is something that you would want to do? Anybody? Let me show a hand, somebody that would want to do Brrr strategy. Good. All right. So I hope you learned something from this. I hope this is at least something in this that you could take with you. I will say, again, I didn't know all these different little things when we first started. So don't let this scare you into like, I can't do it. Just get started, baby steps. Come to this meeting. We'll talk more about it. Network in here. Get to know somebody. Again, I feel like being here should help you guys, should help all of us if we can get to work. All right, let's make some calls, make some deals. Let's get it done. Brrr strategy is just one of those strategies. It's one that's helped our family. If anybody's looking to buy, we are selling a portfolio. So we're selling a portfolio of $2.5 million worth of real estate, and I think all of it was brought through a Brrr strategy of some kind. So that means we have about 25% equity, at least 25% equity in the whole thing. So that is a strategy that you can take from essentially $0. Now, guys, don't mishear me. You do need some money in this game, right? You just don't need as much as you think. So if you can go from just a little bit and then Brrr, get a rental, pay cash for something, whatever it is, and build a portfolio, build your business how you see it, you can be set for a long time. You can build a lot of wealth, and you can build a family business or something you could sell, whatever you want to do. But you could do it right here in Columbia. Is that exciting? Yeah. Guys, I'm telling you, this business, real estate, is the one thing that I know all of you in here can do right here in your hometown. I can't say that about all the other businesses. So this is what excites me. This is why we come to REI Live. This is why we do this, because it's exciting and I want to see everybody do it. So we are going to break, any more questions, because we got the beer coming in now. No more questions because beer's at the door. So guys, thank you. I do want to say, be here next month, be at the Lunch and Learn in a couple of weeks. Get to know your friends right around you and join the Facebook group, right? Join the Facebook group. That's where we talk. So thank you all for being here.